Today, we dive deeper into history and uncover a story that's rarely told, and even more rarely remembered. I'm speaking about the hidden cost of the Commonwealth soldiers, their sacrifice, their service, and their forgotten legacies. Because while history remembers the battles, the strategies, the victors, it often forgets the hands that held the line. So ask yourself, how many names were never written down? How many stories remain untold simply because no one thought to ask? Ask yourself, how many gave their lives for a flag they didn't live under? How many crossed oceans to fight for a king they'd never met? And how many never came home, not even as a name etched in stone? But yet they marched into wars not of their making, not for medals, not for glory, but for duty, for loyalty, for the hope that their service might someday mean justice. This isn't just war history. This is a reckoning with the past and a reminder of the debt still unpaid. Because the true cost of war wasn't just measured in blood. It was buried in quiet corners of history, overlooked, unspoken, unresolved. And today, we bring it back into the light. Today, we give that cost a voice. So let's begin with the call that echoed across continents, a call that echoed across the Commonwealth countries, a call to fight, a call to serve, and thousands answered to defend the world's freedom. But at what cost? Do you know how many fought? Do you know how many never came home? Do you know which countries they came from and what they gave for your today? To answer these questions, we go back in time, back to the pages of history, to the stories buried beneath medals and silence. We look to the history books to understand what these countries gave up, so that we could stand free today. Over 2.5 million soldiers from across the Commonwealth took up arms in the First World War. In the Second, more than 5.7 million answered the call again. Let's look closer at where they came from and what they gave. In India, over 1.5 million Indian soldiers in the First World War, more than 2.5 million in the Second. They marched through the mud of Flanders, fought in the burning sands of North Africa, climbed the rugged hills of Italy, and faced fire in the jungles of Burma. Their sacrifice? Over 74,000 dead in World War I, tens of thousands more in World War II, most buried in foreign fields, unnamed, unvisited. Let's now look at Canada. In World War I, 620,000 served. In World War II, over 1 million more. They stormed the trenches of Vimy Ridge, held fast at Passchendaele, and led the charge on D-Day. Nearly 61,000 died in the First World War, another 45,000 in the Second. Sons of the North, buried across Europe. If you've stayed with us this far, thank you. Thank you for taking the time to listen, to reflect, and to honor the stories that history too often forgets. Your time means their memory lives on. Let's have a look at a few countries like Australia. Australia contributed over 420,000 in the First World War. Nearly 1 million more joined in the Second. 60,000 never came home from the First. 27,000 more were lost in the Second. From New Zealand, 100,000 stood in World War I. 140,000 more followed in World War II. 18,000 names, never spoken again at home. In Africa, over 55,000 Africans fought in the First World War. Many more served as porters and laborers, unarmed, yet still in danger. In World War II, more than 375,000 African soldiers stepped into the fire. Tens of thousands died, many unnamed, uncounted, unremembered. In the Caribbean, over 15,000 served in World War I, thousands more in World War II, fighting in the skies with the RAF, at sea in the Merchant Navy, and on the ground with the infantry. But they faced more than bullets. For many Commonwealth soldiers, the war wasn't only about the front lines, it was about fighting a second, silent war. One against racism, underpayment, and exclusion. These men and women stood shoulder to shoulder with British troops, endured the same mud, the same fire, the same fear, yet were treated as lesser. African, Caribbean, Indian, and Pacific soldiers were often given the most dangerous tasks, without the protection or recognition afforded to others. They were paid less than their white counterparts, denied promotions, and frequently placed in non-combat roles regardless of their skills, simply because of the color of their skin. When the guns fell silent and medals were handed out, many were left with nothing. No honors, no pensions, not even acknowledgement. In some cases, their contributions were erased from official records, their names never engraved on memorials. They returned home to colonial rule, discrimination, and poverty, carrying trauma, but rarely glory. Yet, in the face of all this, they served with unwavering courage. Their sacrifice wasn't just for victory, it was for dignity, for their communities, and for a future they hoped would see them as equals. Now, history must do the same.